and welcome to an extraordinary series of episodes of the Smart Life podcast, where we delve into the captivating journeys of remarkable female founders. I'm Jess Hadley, MD and founder of Beacon Agency, and I'm joined by my co-host Laura Bull, Head of Strategy at Beacon.
Together, we are particularly excited to guide you through this series as we uncover their inspiring stories, exploring the highs and lows of setting up and growing their business. In each episode, we will dive deep into the personal and professional lives of these incredible women, shedding light on their motivations, challenges, and triumphs. Prepare yourself for a truly inspiring journey over the next few hours as we share insights and wisdom that can help aspiring entrepreneurs and established business owners alike.
Today, we are honoured to have Charlotte Boundy with us. Charlotte is a brilliant mind behind Bright Sparks PA, a company that provides flexible and affordable personal assistance services tailored for individuals, startups, and small businesses. Her mission is to help these entities grow and succeed, and we can't wait to hear all about her journey, the obstacles she has overcome, and the lessons she's learned along the way. Welcome to the podcast, Charlotte.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
I'd love to hear a bit about your work life before you started Bright Sparks PA, as you trained in something completely different. Can you tell us a little bit about your experiences before you started the company?
I did, yeah. So I originally trained as an actress. So something my mum definitely didn't want me to do, as it's not the most financially stable of careers. So I trained in acting a long time ago. How long ago was it? How old am I now? 17 years ago, I think it was. Yeah, it was my degree when I was 18, 19, 20. So I trained many years ago as an actress and worked in acting on some small contracts and also some amazing contracts. I got to go to Japan for a year and perform with Universal Studios, which was the best experience ever. But in between those acting jobs, I also initially did lots of jobs that were difficult, like bar work and waitressing and all sorts. And I got to a point where I was like, I really need something where I feel like I'm being a bit more challenged. So I started doing some temp work in offices through an agency, and then got my first PA role where they didn't mind being a bit flexible for the acting, which was amazing. And then over the space of about 10 years, I worked as a PA in a few different companies, and then eventually an EA as well in a really fast growing tech startup. And I'd say that tech startup gave me a lot of the knowledge to start my business. So whilst working as an EA, COVID hit and everyone's pay was frozen, and I was trying to save up for something big and I didn't know what to do. So I just put a shout out to see if anyone needed some VA support online. I thought I could do it in my spare time. And then I had so many responses that I had an accidental business. And then in the last 3 years, it's actually become more of the serious full-time hustle now. And I never thought I'd say this because I dearly love performing, but I'm actually enjoying running the business a lot more than I ever enjoyed performing. So it's now the full-time gig and I'm absolutely loving it, and supporting so many inspirational founders with incredible projects that they're working on is just the best feeling.
Amazing. I mean, I totally get it, because so in my not to your level, say amateur side of it, in hobby, I love theatre and it's a massive passion for me, but also I love running the business, and there's a lot of transferable skills between the two, wouldn't you say?
Yes,
Or have
definitely.
you found it's been very useful?
Yeah, 100%. There's so many transferable skills. And theatre just teaches you so well how to be human and understand humans and pick up body signals and emotional signals, and it's actually really useful for recruitment, the recruitment side of things for sure, because I feel like I'm very good at reading people and knowing who I'm going to match them with, and the same with new clients that potentially come on board. It's really useful having those personable skills and those soft skills to be able to go into a networking evening and make 20 new contacts. Even if they're not clients, they might become friends or people that recommend you to other people. And yeah, there's so many transferable skills. And I think as well, the graft of being an actor, and the ability to get told no 20 times and still say, but it's okay because there will be a yes, is so useful for business, whether you're fundraising or selling or whatever. It's such a useful skill to just be able to kind of get straight back up and say, all right, never mind, next.
No, it really is. I think it's such an important, you get asked questions about when they're starting out, and I think some of the big things is that grit to keep going. I found it really interesting you said about being sort of having an accidental business, because it seems to be something that female founders fall into a lot. How has that in some ways been like a really beneficial part to starting a business, and is there ways in where it's been less beneficial? What's it like what's different about being an accidental entrepreneur?
I think initially it was only ever supposed to be a side hustle. And I think for definitely the first year that I was doing it, I treated it as such. And I think your mentality when you are approaching a side hustle is very different to your mentality when it becomes a full-time gig. I think when it's a side hustle, occasionally you might accept less than perfect, and occasionally you might sort of be a little slapdash about things that you think don't matter too much, or they won't matter as much as some of the other things. And then actually when you're running it full time, you realize that you just cannot be quick with anything or slapdash, and then you have to be so precise and exact, and you have to be so well researched. And I think strategy as well, when it's an accidental business, you kind of go into it not with a lot of strategy. And actually when you're trying to grow it and it's full time and you're trying to really grow it and make something amazing, you suddenly realize you need a hell of a lot of strategy behind you. But if you've never had a business before and it's an accidental business, I definitely found in the beginning I was kind of like, well, I know I need a strategy. I don't know where to start with that, because you haven't spoken to enough of your ideal clients yet. You haven't spoken to enough of your ideal candidates yet. You haven't understood what kind of branding you might need and how much that's going to cost. And one person quotes you £10,000 and another person quotes you 50 quid. And there's a lot of working out, I think, initially, if you're an accidental business, on what you're supposed to be doing and what is actually an unnecessary thing. And I think you only start to learn that through doing it. And there will be mistakes. I don't have an MBA. I definitely have made mistakes along my 3.5-year journey so far. But it's just about what learning you take from those mistakes and how you action things to make sure they don't happen again, I think.
So you said about, obviously, accidental business, and it started off as a side hustle. So what inspired you to go full time with Bright Sparks, and what was kind of your vision for the company when you made that decision?
I think I was really enjoying the work, but I realised that the times when my full-time job was a bit quieter, I was able to really get quite a lot of clients in, and the times when my full-time job was busier, the business would fall off a cliff. And I kind of realised, well, I've proven it to myself, I can do it when I've got hours, I can make it work. So I decided to bite the bullet and take out a small personal loan. I looked at business loans, but I was personally liable for them anyway, and they were much higher APR. So I took out a small business loan because I'd already proven to myself, I'd had proof of concept, and I knew I didn't want to take investment because I only needed a very small loan, and I didn't want somebody to have a large percentage of equity in my company when we weren't that big yet. But I'm really glad I took that choice to go away from my full-time role, which I wasn't particularly enjoying at the time. It's very stressful, and actually bite the bullet and go full-time. And that loan now is nearly paid off, and the business is doing well. And I'm really pleased that I took that gamble on myself. And I think it's such a testament to the importance of believing in yourself when you're running a business.
So important. And actually sometimes it can be seen like a blocker as a lot of the time when you are told, or the vision of what you see businesses are is that you're getting investment. Actually you can bootstrap it and believe in yourself and go a bit further forward with it.
As a female founder, I don't know about you, but it's that feeling of imposter syndrome, and can I do this? I'm not sure. That I think as women we definitely struggle with a lot more than potentially our male other counterparts. So taking that leap of faith is such a big deal, and believing in yourself.
Massive deal.
What's been your biggest learning curve for your time as a founder, and have you found that things like the challenges that you faced earlier on in your business have changed and you have new ones now?
I think the biggest learning curve I've had as a founder is to be careful where you get your advice from. I think when I started out, because I didn't know anything, I just listened to anyone and anybody that said that they were a business expert or they had run a business before. Any suggestion they gave me, I'd sort of go, all right, I'll go and action that straight away. And actually 9 times out of 10, that action that I took was the wrong move for my business, for my model, for my vision. For it might have been great advice for them for their business, but 9 times out of 10 it was bad. It was just not the right advice for me. And I think I was quite naive when I started out, and I just would follow anyone. And I've realized now, actually, if somebody gives me advice, the thing to do is ask another 3 people who have knowledge and see if they agree with that piece of advice, and then do some research on the advice and then decide whether to action it or not. I'd say that has been the biggest learning curve, and it's so easy to fall down on that one, especially when somebody approaches you and says, oh, I've grown 20 businesses to 10,000 it's so easy to get swept up, especially when you're a small business and you're so eager to grow and so hungry to grow. So I'd definitely say, like, being careful about who you take advice from is the biggest learning curve I've had so far. And in terms of maybe problems I came across at the beginning compared to now, I'd say definitely, like, the first 2 years my main issues were like finding clients, and in the last few months my issue's been, oh my god, I don't have enough staff, which is not a problem I ever expected to have, and it's fine. I'm fixing it. It's great. We've got some amazing people coming through and joining our books and signing up for our training, and I mean, they all have lots of PA experience anyway, but we do training when we onboard them as well. So it's not going to be a permanent problem, but it's definitely a problem I wasn't expecting to have so soon.
Yeah, I totally understand, because that's not the problem when you are growing it, is that you envisage it's a nice one to have, and then when it does hit, it's quite a challenge.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm really intrigued to hear more about this sort of training process that you've got, because that's brilliant in terms of, is it to align your PAs and your way of working? Tell us a little bit more about it.
Yes, there's a couple of bits of the training. The first one is to align the PAs with our way of working, and I think it's something that I've put a lot of thought into, because the PA client relationship is quite a personal one, and the clients like to work in different ways because they're all individual, and that's great. But what I've realised is, as much as the PAs can adapt to their way of working, we're still an overall agency and we're still a brand, and we still have a level of service that I want to make sure we are hitting. So the first part of the training is to get everyone on board with how I like people to think about things and act, and what sort of values we have, and what things are non-negotiable, and also, just the second part of the training is to signpost them towards the modules that I've created, because I found that a lot of PAs that come on board, they've got like 8 years experience, 10 years experience, they really know what they're doing. But I've found that a lot of the people we support are founders and startups and smaller businesses, and usually they've got a headcount of like 3 or 4, although we have supported bigger business, but generally it seems to be startups. And if someone's a startup, I find that they need their PA to not just be a PA, but also have a bit of understanding about social media and algorithms and Canva, and how to use MailChimp or HubSpot, and how to send email marketing, and how to do A/B testing. And so the training really is giving them that extra level up that they might need to support a founder that is, running a very fast growing business, but they don't have enough heads in their team yet. That PA needs to be able to pick up like as much admin things as they can. So I like giving them that extra bit of training, just to give us that little edge, so that business founders, once they're matched, they can just start running with a PA and everything goes smoothly.
Fantastic. And as part of that sort of onboarding, does that allow you to sort of know what kind of fit they would be for your clients? So you go, okay, this person's really going to be good for these types of clients. Or are you looking at that earlier on? So when you're hiring them, you're matching them with a client?
I look at it quite early on. I like to have on my books a really good mix of traditional personal PAs who might deal more with like kind of household affairs, and then PAs who've worked with like tech startups. And then within the tech startups sort of type PAs, some of them are amazing at social media and some of them are not, and I like to have a bit of a pool of both, because the ones that are not amazing at social media might be amazing at something else. So I like to try and sort of have a few of each in each category, so that when people come along asking for a PA, I can kind of match them. And I try and get PAs from different walks of life as well. Like, there's no point in me having 10 PAs who've all worked in tech startups. Although we work with tech startups a lot, we also work with vocal coaches and Italian food importers, and like a whole range of Pilates instructors. So it helps, if I can, to have a little bit of a wide range of where the PAs have come from prior to joining us. So yeah, it's definitely a real skill getting that pool of people together to make sure that it's diverse enough for our clients.
Who's been your biggest inspiration in all of this?
This is a really hard one, because maybe I should find more business people inspirations, because I don't have many. There's a wonderful woman called Shah, and I've now forgotten her last name, which is terrible. One moment, I need to find out. Shah Wasmond, and I think she's brilliant. She started from quite humble beginnings like I did. Something I didn't mention at the beginning of this call is that I grew up in a single parent family in East London on benefits, and life was really hard for a long time. And I really like Shah because she came from quite humble beginnings as well, and she's built an incredible business empire, but she's also extremely outgoing and welcoming and will always do her best to make connections with people and link people up who should work together. And I think she's just absolutely amazing. So I think that's probably the main person for me at the moment. I should have more. I will find more business inspiration people.
No, I totally get it because it's really nice. I mean, I'm going to check her out afterwards. I hadn't, heard of her before, and she sounds fantastic. But I understand what you mean. It's difficult sometimes because a lot of particularly when you accidentally start a business, and when you come from come from a more working class background as well, and you don't see necessarily as many of that type.
Yeah.
On a day-to-day basis, and because sometimes and this is not against anybody, that however you start a business, it's still tough wherever you start it from, but a lot of the time the inspirational leaders you see have had a lot of help or money behind them.
Yeah.
And while that's fantastic that what they've achieved, it's not something physically possible for some of us, so it's nice to get that range of others coming through as well.
Definitely.
Do you find inspiration, considering sort of your theatre background, do you find inspiration from other places that help within your business? So people in other walks of life, or people that you've met, or just experiences that you find actually it's not technically a business inspiration, but it's been really useful for my development?
I think there are other actors who have business empires as well. Is it Gillian Anderson? Yeah. Gillian Anderson, I think, is incredible. I think she just says it how it is, which I love. And she's an American actress, and she's an incredible actress. I mean, I would love to be able to act as well as her in some of the things she acts in, but also running her own business because she is training or has trained to become a sex and relationships therapist, and her business about all of that runs alongside it, and she raises tons of money for incredible causes, and I just think she's an absolute powerhouse. So I think, I look up to her a lot.
She's fantastic. No, I love her. I think she's an incredible actress. I had not heard that she'd done that. It's brilliant.
Yeah, she's brilliant.
So I'm really intrigued. What's your vision for Bright Sparks PA in the future in terms of where you might take the business?
That's such a good question, and I would definitely say it has changed multiple times since it was accidentally born. When I first started it, I had this vision that entrepreneurs could have as many or few hours as they liked. They could have an hour a month if they wanted. They could have 100 hours a month if they wanted. But I soon realised that was actually a little bit unsustainable for me. So although we are super flexible still, and we do have our flexi hourly rate, I'm trying to encourage people more towards our package offers, which start at 20 hours a month, mainly because, partly because of the sustainability on my side, but also because actually I feel like we can make a real difference when we do have about 20 hours a month. It's quite hard to make a real difference when it's only 5 hours a month. It's very hard to do. Although my team are superstars, there's only so much we can achieve in 5 hours. So I think going forward, I'd like Bright Sparks to move maybe a little more towards kind of the fractional PA and EA space, where we're supplying fractional PAs and EAs on a part-time or full-time basis to startups and to businesses and individuals. And then in terms of like the 5-year plan, the jury is still very much out. And it's really interesting, actually. I did once have a consultation with a coach who told me I needed a 1-year plan, a 3-year plan, a 5-year plan, and a 10-year plan, and I wasn't to come back to her until I had those things. And I went away, and it just didn't sit right with me, because life doesn't work like that. Life doesn't say, all right, in 10 years this is where you're going to be. It never works like that. I will always happily make a 1-year and a 3-year plan, but I don't tend to plan further ahead than that. However, having said that, I think a 5-year plan for a business is a very smart idea, and at the moment I'm just working on that. I'm actually going away to Paris in a couple of weeks on a little trip, and I've decided to take myself off for a day while I'm there and have my own little away day with all of the mini-me's in my head. That's the thing. When you run your own business initially, it's just you. So you have to have these conversations in your head that you'd normally have with a team. Although there is a nice hour within that where I'll be having all of the PAs on a call, and we'll be having a chat about the direction of the business going forward. So in terms of where I see it in 5 years' time, I'm not yet sure, but I think it will very likely start to become a kind of a fractional PAEA recruitment agency, because I'm really enjoying that.
It's really interesting you said that about because I kind of agree with you. Everything seems so much more fast paced and things come out there. It's important to have a plan so you have something to measure your decisions against. But if you're
Yeah.
so wedded to it, it's a bit tricky. Do you think, because considering that a lot of us have either started or grown a business through COVID and the pandemic, that the way that we do business now has changed, and so that's why those plans might feel a little bit less, not important is the wrong word, but a little bit, they have to be a bit more adaptable now.
I think so, yeah. I think everything is moving so fast now in the world in general, not just business, but just as a whole. Everything is so instant and everything moves so quickly, and then you've got AI as well. And I think because of that, I think it's actually impossible to predict what things might look like in 10 years' time. I mean, who knows? We might be having self-driving cars everywhere and a robot in your house that does your laundry for you, and who knows, really. All we can do is sort of make some rough guidelines and for that period and move towards them. I think it's the closer, the 1 year and the 3 year, which are the ones you need to make really clear, tangible, dare I say it, smart goals for, where they are, specific and measurable and achievable and things like that.
And in those like 1 year goals, I mean, obviously you're going in a couple of weeks to take yourself off to Paris to give you that headspace, and I totally get that, because when you start a business, you're doing all the multiple different things, so trying to sort of get that organized in your brain, actually have time to think about the future because you're so busy working in it, it's a bit tricky. But is that your main tactic when coming up with goals? And is there something that, in terms of when you're goal setting, you've figured out the way it works for you?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been somebody that sets personal goals. Definitely for probably the last 10 years. I'm not going to say I keep a journal. I have ADHD. ADHD people aren't very good at keeping journals unless they're on medication, which I'm unfortunately not, unfortunately. But, sorry, the door's just gone. Bear with me one moment.
No worries.
Sorry. Yes, but I do like to start off attempting to keep a journal. So I always start the year with writing in my 5 goals for that year. And so far, mostly I've achieved them every year. And I think it's because I always try and think about, is it measurable and is it achievable? And is it something that's not going to overwhelm me, but at least motivate me? I think last year my goals were to buy a flat, which I've now done, to get my business to a certain point of turnover and profit, which I did. And then I think can't remember what my other goal was, but I did achieve it. So I always try and sort of just do 5 personal goals. And then in terms of the business, I tend to give myself shorter term, like quarterly goals, because I think because it's still growing, and in terms of business age, it's still quite young. 3.5 years is a while, but it's still young compared to other businesses. I think I'm still learning very quickly, what works and what doesn't. And then because of that, I think the goals will change every quarter. Even if the yearly goal is let's make some more money and help some more business founders achieve wonderful things, what does that actually look like quarterly is very different each quarter. So I would say that. Sorry.
I really agree with that, because we recently moved to a quarterly appraisal process with the team, and set all our goals quarterly, just because, like we say, everything's so changing so quickly and adaptable, and we all kind of know inherently what the annual goals are going to be, because but how do you break that down and achieve it? And it's been such a amazing turnaround in terms of what we've been able to achieve and how much progress we've made, just by making it quarterly. So I think that's a big recommendation for anybody out there who wants to do well, is do 3 month goals.
All right, so now we've come to the part of the show where we put our guests in the hot seat with our pass it along questions.
It's warm enough today.
As part of our series interviewing female entrepreneurs and founders, we're about to hit you with a few quick fire questions to get some valuable takeaways for our lovely audience. So, question 1, if you had to give fellow founders one piece of advice, what would it be?
I think be careful who you listen to for advice about your business, and always keep your vision in mind.
Question 2, if you could recommend one book, podcast, or online course, what would you choose?
I actually went to my bookshelf earlier just in case you asked this question, and I would say it's this book, which is Difficult Women by Helen Lewis. It's not a business book, but I'd say as a woman, it's a really inspirational. Let me just get my camera straight and start that again. 1 second. Yeah, it's not a business book, but I would say it's a really inspirational book, and it's really encouraged me to stand up for myself and for other women over things. I think when I was in my early 20s, I was quite naive in the kind of majority man's world that we were living in, and it's really changed my view on things and really helped me to understand how to make a difference and when to make a difference. And I think you can apply that to business as well, you know, when to speak up and when to kind of be out of turn. Interestingly, when I lived in Japan, they have this saying, I don't know what it is in Japanese, but it's along the lines of the nail that sticks up must be hammered down. And I don't think I could disagree more. I think it's really important to stick up and stand out. But I think this book has really helped me to be a lot more confident in even just speaking up for things I believe in. So yeah, if you get the chance, definitely have a read.
I'm great. Definitely going to add that one to my list.
Third and final question. What is your favourite inspirational quote?
I don't know where it's from. Maybe I made it up. I'm not sure. But I've always said no stands for NO, which equals next opportunity. So whenever you get no, it means that there's another door down the corridor that is going to open for you. It's just not the right door or the right time or whatever, you know. Like, I think I really learnt that from all the auditions I did over the years, where you get so many no's and it's really easy to get disheartened, but no just means that the no might make space for a really big yes, you know. And I think you just have to keep getting back up and trying all the doors and knock on them and barge them down if you have to. But yeah, no equals next opportunity. I have it printed on my wall.
I love that. Next opportunity.
That is so good. Yeah, you could absolutely have to. Yeah, that is such a brilliant one. I'm going to take away that one because it's difficult when you hear no so many times. So yeah, but I love that no means next opportunity.
Yeah,
that's really, really good.
Yeah, I think you can apply that as well if you're like trying to fundraise for your business. You're going to get a lot of no's, but you will get a yes eventually.
And is that something you might not know? Is it maybe look forward to doing in the future for your business, or is it as you've seen it sort of on the sidelines, like watching other people, supporting other businesses through that sort of funding process? Is it something you're like eventually that's going to be me, or is it like I've seen it, I'm going to keep away?
It's a really good question. I think at the moment we're doing really well bootstrapping. I think fundraising is something we may turn to if I get to a certain size and I suddenly find actually what I need is a CFO and maybe a chief of finance and just a chief of staff. And, you know, I think already my time is quite stretched. And although we're doing well, I may need some funding at some point to continue to do even better.
Yeah.
And there might be some additional arms of the business that I'd like to develop as well. Something I'm really keen on at the moment is we do hire a lot of mums who are trying to get back into work, and I think that's great, but I'd love to maybe have a separate program where we're actually like seeking those people out and helping them feel more confident going back to work in general, even if it's not for us. Like, I'd love to have a CIC branch of the company, and that probably will require some funding, I think. So it's definitely something we might think about in future, probably in the form of angel investment.
I mean, that's incredible because it'd be such a wonderful thing to eventually aspire to and build into the business. It's definitely something that we were keen on when we set up Beacon, was that flexibility to allow women coming back after having a family so that they could have that flexibility they needed, because there's so many talented people, and it's not just women, it's also men as well, who are, you know, the caregivers in their family, and then we're not getting to use their amazing skills, or they're not getting to use their amazing skills because they can't find the right flexibility in that business. So it's wonderful. A wrap on another insightful episode of Smart Life Podcast. We hope you enjoyed Charlotte's inspiring story and got some amazing, valuable takeaways for your own business and your life. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for joining us, Charlotte.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.